So that is Finn. How good is he? So he was essentially a stormtrooper who was stolen away from his family when he was young, and he was trained up as a stormtrooper. He then escaped because he didn't like what they were doing. In one of the very first scenes of one of the newer films, he decides that he doesn't like to just shoot people and kill people. He hates that side of it. He sees there is bad in it. He sees there is evil in it, so decides to turn away from it. He then manages to take Poe. If you haven't learned about Poe yet, go and find out a little bit about Poe. He then takes Poe from the commanding ship and escapes with him, and he turns basically into one of the good guys. He finds out all about the Force, and he is also one of the heroes of the film, helping Rey. Yes, that is Rey, who is one of the main characters in this whole film series, to escape as well. So he's a bit of an epic character. Now there's a scene where him, Rey, Poe, Han Solo and Chewbacca are all in like this cantina, and they're speaking to a little old lady called Mara. She's little, she's got a round head and she's got these big massive eyes, goggly things, and she like zooms all the way in on Finn, and she says, I've seen these eyes before. You are fearful, you are scared. And he says, of course I'm scared. I've seen the bad side of this. I know the bad side of this. I don't want to be anywhere near what is known as the First Order. That's the bad guys. He wants nothing to do with them. He wants to escape them. And being where he is at that moment, he knows that he could potentially run into them at some point, and he wants to get as far away from them as possible. Now, when challenged about escaping, Rey catches him. Rey comes over to him and she says to him, what on earth are you doing? You need to stay, you need to help, surely you're not going to escape. And he says this, let me read it for you. He says, I'm no hero. I was raised to do one thing. He's talking about killing. He said, in my first battle, I made a choice. I wasn't going to kill for them, so I ran. I ran right in to you. You, Rey, when I met you, you looked at me like nobody else ever had. I was ashamed of what I was, but I am done with that side of things, and I am never, ever going back. He wanted to escape the evil because he had experienced it. He wanted to get as far away as he could, but actually, a little bit of a spoiler alert, he comes back and he helps his friends because he doesn't want them to go through the same thing, to go through the same evil, to experience the same bad things that he has experienced. Yes, that's right, he comes back to help, to save them, to support them, and do whatever he can to get them through it. And whilst he was doing it, he made really close friends. He felt comforted in their presence. He was supporting them in whatever they were doing. And I suppose that's a little bit like us as Christians. Yes, hopefully you know Jesus. Hopefully you've noticed the good side, you've noticed the bad side, and you've gone, you know what, I don't want anything to do with that bad side. I want to go with this good side. And now it's time to kind of go, right, I don't want my friends to be part of that as well. I mean, I've got friends, I've got family that are part of that bad side in our Christian life, and I don't like that. And I really want them to see the good side in the Christian values and the Christian way of living. So I want to reach out with them. I want to show them that they have comfort, they have protection, they have love, they have care with Jesus through the good side, through being a Christian. And no, it's not going to be an amazing time all the time. You will go through tough stuff, you will go through challenges, you will have trials, and that is fine. We are allowed to go through that. In fact, if anything, the Bible encourages that we go through those trials because it makes us stronger. Maybe you're going through a trial at the moment, maybe you're going through a hard time at the moment. That's okay, that's fine. You come out of it with Jesus on your side, and you come out of it a whole lot stronger. Stay strong, stay true to your faith and to your Christianity. Now with our good side, with our God side, Jesus is on our side. He died to save our sins. Do your friends know that? Hopefully you know that already, so I'm not going to ask that question, but do your friends know that? Can you imagine not being able to see some of your friends? Can you imagine not being able to see some of your family because they've gone down a different route to you? Well, Finn escapes the valley of death and comes out on the other side. He was guided, he was comforted by his friends. He had the guidance of the Force, and as he reveals later, that's a little bit of a spoiler as well, in the later film as well. And that's just like us as Christians. We are guided through the valley. Now, in Psalm 23 verse 4, hopefully you have heard this before, it says this: even though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Now, we spoke a little bit about this last week on our Sunday session when we had a Zoom session and we watched Ignite together. And if any of you were reading it, down the side of the column, there was a little chat going on, and someone called John Harper, a good friend of mine, said about this verse. We were actually talking at the time about Jesus being asleep in the hull in the storm, and all the disciples were really scared, but actually Jesus was in charge. He was calm, he was sleeping, and the disciples were petrified, they were scared, but Jesus was in complete control. Now, we walk through the valley of death, we walk through it. That's not saying we step to the side of it and avoid it completely, because we will go through bad times, we will go through all of these struggles, and Jesus is there with us. He is there to comfort us, to support us, and guide us through all of that. I then spoke about the Footprints poem. If you didn't know about the Footprints poem and you want to read more about that, I'm going to put a little video link or whatever it is below or to the side of me. Check the Footprints poem out, and that will guide you a little bit more with that too. And it says about how Jesus is walking with us and he supports us in those bad times. Hopefully you know that Jesus walks with you in those bad times and he supports you in those bad times, but that's not just a case of completely relying on him. You still have to do some of the work as well. You still have to have that faith. You still have to push yourself forward. It's not just a case of lying in your bed and going, that's it, just guide me through my life, Jesus. That's not how it works. You still need to do that work as well. Like in school, for example, if you've got an exam, you can't just go, okay, God, I believe that as a result of me praying, I will ace my exams, and then you do nothing about it, nothing to support. Obviously, you have to go out there and you have to do the revision. You have to think about it. You have to practice it, and that will get you through it. Now, we will face bad things, but God is with us and he will guide us. He will give us protection and he will give us comfort. Like I've said before, hopefully you already know that, but do your friends, do your family know that? Now I'm going to set some verses beneath me and some challenges beneath me, so go through them and then I'll do one more video to sum it all up at the end. See you in a bit.